Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to our channel and thanks for logging on. Today we're discussing the Urwerk EMC Electromagnetic Control Black. You can see this 55-piece limited edition in black DLC titanium and stainless steel from the 2013 model year on our website. Subscribe to our YouTube channel if you enjoy these videos, and please click on the card in the upper right hand corner of the screen at any time during this video to see our full sales listing for this watch with additional accessories included in the sale, high resolution images for your desktop, and naturally complete pricing details for this Urwerk EMC Black limited edition of 55 pieces. Now, since the 1950s, each era has had its mechatronic watch. In the 1950s, it was the combination of traditional trains and balances with electronic impulsing devices and timing circuits. In the 1960s, it was a flood of additional electronic balance watches, in addition to the original Hamiltons, plus the Accutrons, which combine a servo-style tuning fork with a mechanical drivetrain and an integrated circuit. The 70s brought us the beginning of mechatronic chronographs that lasted through the 90s, so effectively quartz base movements hitched to mechanical chronograph complications. And the 2000s brought us Seiko Spring Drive, especially the automatic version that debuted mid-decade, that coupled a traditional mechanical drivetrain and spring energy reservoir with a quartz oscillating circuit. Well, the 2010s have all been about mechatronic watches featuring devices that are electronic and integrated, allowing you to interact with the mechanical part of your watch. Now, recent iterations have tended towards regulation of the mechanical part of the watch by means of an electronic system. Think the Resonance Type 2 E-Crown of SIHH 2018, but Urwerk has leaned in the other direction, giving you diagnostic mechanisms that allow you to interact with and measure the chronometric precision of your watch. And the EMC is that, electromagnetic control, giving you the ability to time your watch's precision on the wrist using an integrated circuit and an optical sensor powered by a dynamo-driven supercapacitor, or I should say capacitor. We're not quite at supercapacitors just yet. So the watch on my wrist is large, and I have to say that it does not wear conventionally. It actually wears compact despite its looks. Now, what you're looking at is a watch 43.7 millimeters across the broad of the case from 9 to 3. It's also perhaps slimmer than you might expect at only 13 millimeters thick. Its largest dimension is across the case, not inclusive of the crown. The end-to-end measurement across the wrist is actually a manageable 49.6 millimeters, and with a large part of its structure in titanium, it actually doesn't weigh that much. Now, here's another measurement that's important, and it's 48. It's the distance between the pivots for the underslung strap. You can see how the strap is actually inboard on both sides of the outermost point of the case, so it's only a 48 millimeter watch across the wrist because of the pivot point of the strap, and the strap is completely unconstrained in its motion. You'll also note that the watch has a very broad stance about its strap spacing, so it doesn't have any tendency to torque or move. A broad case needs a broad strap. Happily, Urwerk accommodates with a broad custom strap that is beautifully made in a textile with folded edges, a monotone stitch. It's bolstered down the center to give it a little bit of body, and on the underside it has a supple natural grained calfskin, so it is a bi-material strap. You'll also note it has a simple DLC black pin buckle for on-the-fly adjustments. This is a sports watch. Make no mistake though, splash and rain exposure only. This is not a submersible watch. Let's talk about the basics and then go from JV to varsity. Okay, first things first, what you're looking at. Power reserve scale. At the bottom left, it traces the 80-hour power reserve supplied by twin mainspring barrels. Off to the side, lower right, you're looking at hours and minutes. Just above, you're looking at constant seconds, and then adjacent to that, you're looking at what is effectively a integrated chronoscope that will give you the timing precision of the watch. Now, you can adjust it once you've read it. So it has both a reading device thanks to the optical sensor, and if it is properly charged, and I haven't charged it up, oh, nope, there it is, I guess I did, you can see it's running well within chronometer spec. It's inside of -5 seconds per day. So what happens is I push the actuator button on the 9 o'clock side, and then the precision indicator. It tells me exactly how quick or slow the watch is running. You can see the positive scale is 0 to plus 20 and the negative scale is 0 to minus 20. Now all of this is loomed. Stay tuned to the end of the video, and this might be a long one, but there will be a loom shot, and I promise you it's worth your while. There is a control, not so much a control as the ultimate fiddlestick. This is a dynamo generator that allows you to charge up the capacitor that powers the optical sensor and the precision display. You can see that it is fully articulated and surprisingly substantial. It even feels wonderfully knurled along the stalk that you grip. Everything feels machined and all of a piece, like it came from a single billet. It may look spindly and slight, but let me tell you, it's quite robust and impressive in the hand. It is redolent of quality, and Urwerk machining the entirety in-house. Yes, there's more. You can see the crown, but here's the thing. You also note the individual numbering plate, oddly, at the opposite end of the case from the fine-tuning device, but I'm getting ahead of myself. There is a button you press on the underside of the case that releases the crown. So the crown is released by that button on the underside. You'll note that when I press that release button, it actually stops the seconds hand. The watch does feature hacking seconds, but you don't pull the crown out. You press. Or you have to press harder than I did. But the bottom line is, that is how you hack the watch, remove the crown, and ultimately stop the watch when the time comes. The reason I'm having trouble here is because it's so monotone I can't see it through the viewfinder of my camera. So that's the hacking seconds, that's how you access the crown. That allows you to set the watch to the second. Okay, continuing on. The fine-tuning device. Let me see if I can increase the aperture a little bit and get us some more light, because there are two levels of the fine-tuning device. The fine-tuning device is a screw. It allows you to speed up the movement or slow it down. Now this is why I wanted to increase the aperture. There is a scale just below that features an F and a slow, fast or slow. It is a small needle indicator that's moved as you turn the fine-tuning screw. So you do have a reference for adjusting the watch faster or slower. Now continuing onwards, you'll note that the watch is broken up into two components. Not necessarily two halves, because they don't take up the same amount of space, but on the one side there's a grating over what Urwerk calls the E-board. That's the integrated circuit that performs all the computations. It's also the location of the capacitor. You can see the twin mainspring barrels are stacked and borne on a single-sided cock with a jeweled pivot. It's actually redolent of Grubel 4C in the arrangement and the engineering solution used with the stacked barrels on an outcropped cock. You'll also note that there is a balance cock that is entirely covered for the sake of the optical sensor. So it is a conventional balance, as you can see, with Inca block shock protection. Let me see if I can get a little bit closer here. And it has a 28,800 vibration per hour beat rate. Thanks to the twin barrels in series, they are plenty tough to keep this thing going for 80 hours. So 4 hertz or 28,800 vibration per hour beat rate and an optical sensor, that's what that cover is for. Now what you can't quite see is that it does have traditional bridges, albeit of RCAP 40, not traditional brass. You can see the Cote de Genève below. There's also beveling on the edge of the bridges, and all the screw heads are black polished, so there is traditional finishing going on here. And happily, there's enough depth to the movement that if you look in and around, you can get diagonal views of the movement for an unusual amount of depth in a mechanical watch. Usually movements are fairly flat. This one's like a jungle, and if you look past the bridges just below the balance, you can see the conventional drivetrain. That's the other thing. All of the driving mechanisms are under the dial. Urwerk has hidden them, so you have a large and expansive view that allows those diagonals and depth views, but you can't really see the drive mechanisms of the watch. There's a lot going on here, guys, and I'm not going to pretend I hit on every detail of this timepiece. I'm only going to say that adjusted in 5 positions, manually wound, powered by springs with a conventional Swiss lever escapement, this is absolutely a mechanical watch in every sense. It's also a work of art and a fantastic example of handmade high horology in the grandest traditions of Swiss watchcraft. It's also perhaps a look of the future, with the integration of electronic components alongside traditional mechanical watchmaking. This particular aesthetic is highly particular, designed by Martin Fry, built by Felix Baumgartner, the partners in Urwerk. It may not necessarily be the exact aesthetic that points the direction to tomorrow, but the underlying concept, mechanics and electronics in parallel, certainly represents the face of the future. See it and decide for yourself on our website. The face of the future, Urwerk EMC Black. GPHG 2014 award winner in the Innovation and Mechanical Exception categories, and I can't argue with either. This watch is sensational day or night. Now I will say that this is conventional superluminova, so while it may glow as bright as the sun, this is not part of the electrical component of the watch. This is a watch that is simply unique. Now Urwerk is forging ahead in the realm of mechatronic watches with the new Atomic Master Clock in 2018, but this, properly speaking, is where it started. Own the pioneer on our website.